Okay, so we're back and talking about everybody's favorite province, Ontario, and its upcoming election. So let's get into this polls. There's some new numbers that we want to show you guys. The election is happening in 15 days, so it's just over 2 weeks from now. And as far as it's concerned, in this race, I mean, it's still pretty much Doug Ford's game. I mean, it's not even close. And so we're in a situation right now where, Doug Ford has been holding on to this lead from, 99 to about 102 or so. That was sort of the max that he had. And I just want to say something really quickly. I'm going to try not to move my screen as much. I know a lot of people are pretty angry about that last video. So I'm going to try to stay in one spot for the most part if I can. I'll have to scroll down at some points, but I'm going to try not to scroll as much. But anyways, Doug Ford has been holding a very comfortable lead. And, most of the reasons for that is because of his answer to the tariffs, to the tariff threats from the United States. Now, how long would that have lasted if he had gone to election next year? Who knows? I really don't know what would have happened. But if you weren't looking at this from a pure gamble perspective, he made the right gamble. I mean, it's clearly paying off. 99 seats is a big upgrade. I think he's at 80 something right now. I think it's 81 or something like that. So this is a pretty big increase. And when you look at the popular vote, it is sort of reflected in that. But I think it's interesting to note here in the popular vote, there are some discrepancies because we see right here it's 45 to 27 to 19 to 6. Yet the NDP actually are projected to win more seats than the Liberals. So the Liberals have more popular support, but they don't have enough support in these crucial ridings, which frankly, I mean, these 99 ridings, they could have easily flipped to Liberals. And so call it a lack of funding, call it a lack of preparation, whatever. The Liberals were not ready for this election, the Ontario Liberal Party. They were not ready for this election. And it's really showing. I mean, when 9 seats is sort of the projection that you're at, that's not really a good sign. But I want to show something really quickly. So these are some new numbers that we have coming out from Polling Canada. And these are interesting. So this gap right here, wait, not this one. This gap right here is 18 points. But when you go here, it's 13 points. So they cut the gap to by 5 points. And when you look at it here, oh, my bad. When you look at it here, I mean, it wouldn't make much of a change. It really wouldn't make much of a change. Because again, you see the odds of winning the most seats, and they're still at 99%. They're still at 99%. And so when you're 99%, it's literally almost impossible to lose the election in the next 2 weeks. Now, I know I'm changing my tabs quite a bit, but I just want to go back up here again. The 9 seats that the Liberals have is not a good look for their new leader, Bonnie Crombie. Now, I don't really care who wins in this election. I'm not going to talk about my personal views on the leaders. I think this is an election that is very interesting in the sense that it was sort of a giveaway from the beginning who would win. I mean, I'd be really surprised if Doug Ford does not win somehow. It would be like a shocker if he does not win. And that's why I'm saying it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So if anybody is wondering, if the Liberals or the NDP are going to win, it's probably not going to happen. I mean, these numbers are nearly insurmountable. And the other thing is, Justin Trudeau and the Liberals, when they were at their lowest, there was still some opportunity to climb back. Now, whether you attribute Justin Trudeau or to Pierre Poilievre's lack of messaging or, Mark Carney's run into the game, there's a lot of aspects at play. But they still have time. That's a big difference. Time in politics is truly money. And what the what the PCs have in Ontario is a sufficient amount of time. 2 weeks is a decent enough time to campaign, but if they had too much time, that could have been kind of a bad thing. I mean, you take a look right here when the campaign started. I'll just go back 1 week before. It was 44 to 25. Okay, it was 44 to 25, and they've only gone up. The Liberals have only gone up. Now, mind you though, the PCs have gone up. Fine, fair enough. But the NDP, on the other hand, they have not been doing well. They've gone down in support. But if I'm the PCs, if I'm the Progressive Conservatives, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, this election, it's perfectly well placed. So their gamble, might have actually played off. And I mean, obviously, it's too early to say right now because election day hasn't happened. But if you take a look right here, this is a weird one. I don't know why it went down to 88 on the day of the election, or on the day that the election was called. But nonetheless, they rebounded, and they've always been at 99 to 100, 101. I think was one of them. They were at 101 at some point. And then again, odds of winning the most seats. Look at this, 99%. I mean, it's almost impossible that the Liberals or the NDP win. Sorry, it is actually impossible. I would say, as of this given moment. And so, yeah, PC majority, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff. Now, this is interesting. Well, not really, actually. It's kind of the same thing. But it would be interesting to see two parties have the same amount of seats, the Liberals and the NDP. But nonetheless, they have... so this is Polywave, by the way, for those that don't know. Polywave has the PCs at 97. So that's 2 lower than 330 Canada. Now, Polywave, one thing I will say about them is that whenever they have these projections, they're a lot more bullish in general. So when a can is doing good, they're very bullish. Okay, and when a can is doing bad, they're also pretty bullish. They're like, okay, they're also going to do bad. Or a party, sorry, is doing bad. They're going to be like, okay, if a party's doing good, let's say they were at 100 seats in through 30 Canada's model, they would probably bump them up to 105. If it was, I don't know, 90, or sorry, I don't know, yeah, let's say it was 90, they'd probably bump them down to 85. So they're very volatile in the sense that they have a big margin of error compared to through 30 Canada. But nonetheless, if you take a look at these poll numbers, 45 to 26, that's still a 19-point gap. And then again, the Liberals and the NDP in this model are actually projected to win the same amount of seats, which would be interesting. That would be interesting. I would find that pretty funny if that happened. If you had two parties who were basically battling it out. Oh my God. Battling it out for the official opposition. I don't even know what would happen at that point. I mean, would that be both parties that are official opposition, or would they be forced to go to coalition? I don't know. I don't know what happens. So if you do know what's going to happen, or what would happen if that was the case, let me know in the comments, because I actually do want to know what happens. I mean, I'm sure we can look it up. What happens if two parties have same seats? Ontario Legislature. Let's see what happens. Yeah, well, I'm not going to look at Reddit. That's not really a credible source. So, okay, this is going to take a long time. Yeah, okay, anyways, that's not really the point. Anyways, yeah, well, Ontario Legislative Assembly, you need 12 seats to be official party status. So they kind of need these seats, these guys, these two parties. They need these 12 seats. Now, he still has a majority. I mean, this is a majority on a level that you've never seen before. And so if we take a look right here, I just want to look it up. Largest majority in Ontario history. I'm actually curious what that is. And if we take a look, well, actually, this is not really. Yeah, Doug Ford actually had 83 seats. My bad. He did not have 81. He had 83. Yeah, David Peterson. David Peterson. So if we take a look at David Peterson, how much did he win? Yeah, he won 52, which is sorry. No, that's not. Yeah, no, 95. My bad. What am I saying? I was looking at the wrong number. 95. He won 95 seats, which is astonishing. But keep in mind, Doug Ford's not projected to win like 100 in some cases, so it is a pretty big difference. But you also got to keep in mind there were less seats at the time, so I think as a percentage, he did actually win more than Doug Ford would. But nonetheless, I think we can all establish that if Doug Ford had won, or will win these amount of seats, it'll be a pretty big deal, and it'll be a big game changer in Canadian politics, not only, for the next 2 years or 3 years, but even for the next 5 years. I mean, these tariff threats are going to be huge for interprovincial trade barriers. And I think, the way I see it, Doug Ford, or whoever the next premier of Ontario is going to have a challenge, or is going to be tasked with leading that and spearheading that movement to break down the interprovincial barriers. Because at the end of the day, the feds can only do so much. We already know that there's a lot of regulations between provinces and whatnot, but at the end of the day, the only people that can actually break down those barriers are the provinces. And so if Ontario says, hey, we're going to, promote this kind of stuff to break down these barriers and promote more trade within our provinces, I think people are more willing to listen. I don't know. Maybe that's just me as an Ontarian. But anyways, I want to show this. So this is Polling Canada. They're a pretty good source. They have some poll numbers and whatnot. They do some articles as well. And they have just published an article. This is by Curtis Frick. And it says, Liberals led by Carney would win a majority, Ledger poll says. Okay, we already know that one. We saw that yesterday. Oh, well, I can't read it, but nonetheless, I'll try to summarize it for you guys. A hypothetical poll with Mark Carney as leader of the Liberal Party sees the party with 178 seats, while the NDP is decimated across the country. So I want to go back to that one really quickly. So this is by Real Albanian Pat. And I want to go back to this really quickly, because I think there's a lot to talk about for this number. And I think it's kind of shocking that we've gotten to a point now where, yeah, take a look at this. So All right, well, he says 175 seats. Nonetheless, it's still a majority. The NDP would win 2 seats. That is shocking. That is shocking. And so you take a look at this map, and you're looking at some of these cities. I mean, Calgary, not that much red. Edmonton, there's 1 red seat. That would be Carney's, I guess. Winnipeg, so Manitoba is getting red. Manitoba's getting red, which, by the way, was not the case before when Trudeau was leader. Manitoba was going to go blue, like nearly almost blue, all blue. GTA, this is a big one. So GTA was for a long time, sort of an issue under Trudeau in the sense that they lost St. Paul's, and they were like, yeah, this is not looking good. This is not looking good. But look at it now. There's a lot of red. And so this is what it usually looks like. But nonetheless, if he wins a majority, if Carney wins a majority, that'll be the first majority since Trudeau's first election in 2015. That would be a shocker. I mean, if they I'm not saying it'll happen for sure, but because I didn't really talk about this much yesterday, but if they do win a majority, if the Liberal Party wins a majority, that would be the biggest turnaround in history. In history. I mean, you had Pierre Poilievre leading by 30 points at times. 30 points. And so I want to know what you guys think, because I think there's a lot to talk about here, with Pierre Poilievre, whether it's him that's the issue, whether it's Carney that's just that good. I don't know. I mean, you guys can sort of talk about that in the comment section. I'm not going to give my own input. I think that's a whole other topic for another day, and I could probably speak about that for hours. But I want to hear what you guys have to say, because I'm really curious. I mean, if I'm going to summarize it really quickly, I think it's a combination of 2 things. Number one, Pierre Poilievre has 2 slogans, Axe Tax, and he had some other ones related to Justin Trudeau. Those are the main 2 things that he had. And, when you look at the average Canadian voter, they don't really care about that. Okay? They don't really care about that. The average Canadian voter cares about what they can do with their paycheck, number one. What's going on with the tariffs right now, especially. That's a big issue right now. And they don't want these slogans. I mean, I'm not saying this, that it's a completely bad thing to have some sort of slogan, but when your entire platform is 2 slogans, it's not a great sign, and it's bound to fail eventually. Now, Mark Carney, on the other hand, we haven't seen much of him, so we don't really know what he's all about. Now, he has said some things, he's going to get rid of the carbon tax or whatever, but there's some things that people are like, I don't know if this guy's going to do good in debate, because the fact of the matter is, Pierre Poilievre is a good debater. I mean, you can love him or hate him. He's a good debater. He knows how to debate. He knows how to get under people's skin. And he is going to have, I'm talking about Mark Carney, he's going to have a very hard time debating with Pierre Poilievre. I'd like you guys to watch the video of Carney when he was questioned about the pipelines by Pierre Poilievre. And that's sort of like a preview of what would happen if they were to get into debate. That's the biggest question with Carney. I mean, is he able to hold up in a debate? I mean, that's the biggest thing with him. Because ultimately, look, Carney is a very smart man. You guys can talk whatever you want about him. He's a very smart guy. Probably one of the smartest guys that's ever run for politics. But the thing is, he's not really a debater. I mean, he's not a politician. You know what I mean? He just came into politics, a month ago? I mean, he's not really a politician. So it's a big difference when you have one guy who's a career politician, when you have one guy who's not a career politician, one guy's done a lot of things in the private sector, one guy who has done nothing in the private sector. This is a very interesting blend, and it's going to be a huge clash when it comes to debates. I don't know how it's going to go. But it'll be very interesting to see. So my 2 cents on it is this. Mark Carney's biggest weakness is a potential debate against Pierre Poilievre. Pierre Poilievre's potential biggest weakness is the fact that he does not have a real policy platform. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I'd like to know what you guys think. I can mention a bit more about Jagmeet Singh and whatnot, but I don't think they're really players in this one. I think they're, if they're winning 2 seats, I mean, that's not... I don't think it's worth mentioning their platform. He'd probably lose his own seat too. So, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Again, thank y'all for watching, and I will see y'all in the next one.